you have a template, right?
I do. So one of the things that I've noticed over the years, just talking to people, going to conferences, there's always people that are interested, like, they're interested in this topic, they're interested in Industry 4.0, IoT, and they want to start it. But they're, like I was talking about earlier, they're just overwhelmed. They don't know where to start. Everything's new. They don't know how to pick what they're supposed to, start with first.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the tools that I made here, and I'll share, is a priority helper. So the idea here is we don't know where to start. We want to get started in Industry 4.0, but we just don't even know where to start. So this is just a simple tool. If you've used lean principles, it's a C&E matrix, so it's along those lines. So just briefly here are the instructions. Let's talk about where you are in the digitization journey. So I have an assessment tab here, and this is really high level, but the point here is that you have to walk before you can run. You can't skip ahead to having a full digital twin predicting everything that's going to happen and automatically adjusting all your production lines, before you do the other steps. So I kind of just broke it down, again, really basic here, but connecting is your first step. So are your machines connected? Are you able to gather information about your machines? Some manufacturing sites aren't even able to do that. So that's the first thing you got to do. Then are you able to see your data? So connecting to seeing. So meaning, can you, build charts out of it? Can you understand what's happening? At least with a graphical interface or something like that, where you can start to at least look at it and maybe you can make a pattern out of it. But you still have to do that as a human. Then I have my next category here is deciding. So you're able to connect to your machines, see the data coming from there, and then even from there, you can look at some sort of an interface, and it can guide you into what you should be doing next to, ideally the most profitable decision. And then it moves on to predicting and even prescribing. So predicting meaning, something could alert you and tell you before something's going to happen. And then you can say, okay, this is going to happen. I as a person can make this decision to stop that or mitigate that from happening. The final thing is prescribing. That's where something is telling you not only what's going to happen, but this is what you should do. This is the best thing that you should do to be the most profitable. So it's a long way to get there, especially if you're at the beginning, but you have to take these steps.
Yeah.
So sorry, there's a little bit of an aside there, but that's where, you have to understand where you're at before you start this process, just at a high level. And again, this may be different for different machines at your factory. Some might be in the second or third or fourth category. Some might be not even in the first.
Wow.
So there are, I have seen some people use this, and they use this concept, and you can use this or come up with your own way of talking through this. But they've used this to walk through all of their machines or process lines and say, here's where we are today. Maybe we're in this column, I don't know, this column today. And for machine X, we want to get here. For machine Y, it doesn't make sense to go there. Maybe we only want to be here. And they've built out this roadmap of just in general, we want to go from here to here in 5 years, 10 years, something like that. So that's just a good way to
clear.
Yeah, it's just a good way. And then you can revisit that every year and see if it still makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. So then just understanding where you're at, you need to have some sort of an idea brainstorming session. So, however you want to do that, there's a number of different ways to do that. All I have here is just write your ideas down, but I'll let you come up with your own way of brainstorming. There are some just ideas here. So I did talk a little bit about predictive maintenance, but just to mention some other technologies. So, real-time status boards, wireless networks. So, we put in a wireless network at some of the plants that I worked at, which allowed us to add sensors much easier, so then you have to wire things up. Augmented reality. So when we talk about this new remote, situation, what augmented reality allows you to do is have a remote expert. So you could have somebody wearing a device or with a camera or something, and whoever's remote could direct you to help you fix something, or adjust an issue, like turn this valve right here, and they could circle it on the screen. So just much easier to solve issues that way rather than trying to talk over the phone. Automated quality inspections, robotics. I talked about drones. 3D printing is another one where there are places that have their own 3D printer. So I talked about this, this expensive part. If you have a 3D printer that works in the way that you need it to, you could just print it yourself.
Wow, right? You can make it. Wow.
Yeah. So there's people that are doing that. RFIDs, meaning, if you have a huge site, sometimes you lose things, right? Put our RFIDs on it for tracking where it is, or you could have, a way to help, a maintenance or even an operator, if they're confused about a certain machine or piece of equipment, you could have like a QR code, and they could scan it with something, and that could give them all this information. Again, assuming you populate a database or you have a database to have this information, it could populate, or it could give them information about the machine that they're wondering about, right? What is this thing? When was the last time it broke? Who's it from? Where's the instruction manual? That's more of a QR thing, not an RFID. But digital twin, this is kind of like high end, but the idea behind that is you have a digital twin of your factory or your process that's built in a simulation. So then you could take that, and whatever's running right now, you could say, what if I did this? What if I adjusted this knob? What if I, turn this lever? What would happen? And you could use that to just figure out what was going to happen, and then you could make those changes if they become, better for your operation. So that's just some of those ideas, but the idea here is to capture your ideas and to make sure that they make sense, that they're a problem that you're trying to solve. So you may think, like I do, I get excited about this stuff, right? So you may think, oh, it'd be really cool if we have drones, right? But if it's not an actual problem, like you don't actually need drones to do inspections, then you probably don't need to have that as an idea, right? But whereas, so just be careful of that. So the idea here is capture your project ideas and make sure that they're solving a specific problem at your factory. So with predictive maintenance, that's kind of, everyone can kind of see how that one can solve a problem. Well, we have this, we have this pump that is always giving us problems. Let's do some maintenance. Let's try some condition monitoring, predictive maintenance on this pump, right? That could be one of the ideas. Okay,
So,
and then, go ahead.
So before you move on, because I know you're getting excited, you have a lot more, but it seems like maybe people would get overwhelmed because they're thinking about, all of the things they could do,
Yeah.
rather than just, assessing things one at a time and thinking, okay, if I just start right here, where's the biggest problem? If I just start right here, then I can make adjustments, and eventually the whole plant, will be upgraded. But
yeah. Okay, great point. And maybe that you direct this brainstorming session into, we're only going to focus on process line 1, because that's where we want to do our first digital project. So give me all your project or all your process line 1 problems, and we'll try to come up with ways to solve them, with automation or digitization there. So, there's different ways you can do that, but you're right. You could have 500 ideas if you don't put a cap on this, right? And then you don't know where to start. And then was it even worthwhile? So, okay.
Right.
So,
Go for it.
yeah,
Go
sorry.
for it.
So then, okay, you got all your ideas. And again, you don't have to use the brainstorming tab, but you're going to want to collect them, and then you're going to want to put them in this ranking. Again, this is a C&E matrix. You may be familiar with something like this, but the idea here is there's going to be some sort of objectivity to our ranking, so that we see which projects come up to the top that seem to make the most sense. So I put just a simple one together here. It has 4 categories, and you're going to go and you're going to put your ideas in here, and then you're going to rank them. So let's say I put a couple in here. These are just dummy ideas, but let's say one of them is, pump 1, condition monitoring. So again, review these categories first, so that make sure that they make sense for your business. These are just kind of general categories that have worked for other prioritization sessions that I've done, but they may or may not make sense for your business. So just real briefly, I have 4 categories here. First one is cost. So how much is this going to cost us? When we rank these, high number is good. So in this case, a low cost is a good number, right? So again, come up with your own criteria here. I just threw in some numbers, but say the cost of condition monitoring for this pump, let's say it's 3, because we have to maybe get some software and we have to get some devices. Next category here is timeline. A quicker project is going to be better, just so that we can get a win, understand some of this thing, and move on to the next project. So let's say we think that that's going to be a 3-month project. We'll put a 9 in there. Next thing, cost benefit. Again, this can be tough, especially with a lot of these projects, to come up with a cost benefit. If you can, I would put it in here. Sometimes this can be a barrier, though, and I would encourage people to not get hung up so much in ROI, and especially in concrete numbers. Mm-hmm. If you think it's the right thing to do, a lot of times I've seen you just go and you do it, and then afterwards you start measuring, okay, this was a benefit in this amount. So just be careful there. But let's say we think, okay, pump 1, it goes down this much time per year, equating to this much downtime, which means this much money. So, maybe it's a 3. I don't know. Okay, then I have a custom category. Again, you can go in and change these however you want. You can take them out. You can add new ones. If you do add new ones, just make sure you fix the math here. It's real simple. It's just multiplying and adding. But this one, sometimes there's a hot button issue that's affecting a certain customer. That's why I added this one in here. Maybe there's a safety issue that you're looking to solve, and you want to rank something highly for safety, or I don't know, really anything you could put in here. Just another criteria to rank. So let's say pump 1, it's on a line that affects our most important customers. So I'm going to put a 9 there. Okay, so then we come up with a 150. And then you just go down the line and you do that for all of your ideas. Now, I will warn you here too, if you have, 75 ideas, this could take a long time if you start getting into arguments. No, that's a 3, no, that's a 9. You can do that a couple ways. You can have votes and just keep it really simple to a really strict time limit for each category, or you can just, set a time, you have a discussion, a quick discussion with fewer people, and maybe then you'll get it done faster. So just another warning there, this could get really tedious if you get into arguments about some of these categories. So try and get through that. And then when you're done, you have a number of projects here, and you have each one how they rank. And then you can sort by the top. So then you sort, and you see which ones come to the top. Now, just because your top number here is the top one doesn't mean you have to do it, of course, right? So make sure that what you came up with for a list makes sense to you, and you know, and a gut feel like, okay, this is our top project. This makes sense. This is the one we're going to work on first, and then this is the one we're going to work on second. So you may have to adjust that a little bit, but hopefully this should get you an idea of where you can start.
Yeah. So it sounds like the important thing, if you feel overwhelmed, is just to start. I mean,
Yeah.
just pick, rank it and just get started. I mean, hesitation often, often, our procrastination is really the killer, right? Isn't that
Yeah.
a famous quote? I don't know.
Yeah. I would encourage you, everyone along those lines, if you're interested, just get started and do something. It doesn't have to be big. It can be a small project. It can be a pilot. You can call it a pilot project, and you're gonna be some stumbling there, especially if it's your first one. But you'll learn. You'll learn from that. You'll learn what works, what doesn't, and then you can iterate and move on to your next project. You can expand your pilot, or you can move on to something else. So you're right. Just get started.
Yeah. This is great. Really simple, easy to understand. I feel like it would really help some people who are struggling. I mean, yeah. So this template we're actually going to include, depending upon how you're listening to this, it'll either be in a link or, well, it'll be in a link. Guys, this is Matt's just passionate. He just wants to offer this to you guys to help out.
Yeah, and if you have any questions, just reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'd be glad to talk you through some of this stuff, give you my perspective and my experience. So,
Yeah. Well, thanks a lot for joining us today. Guys, we're going to do these types of things often. We'll have an interview pretty soon. So just stay locked in and we'll make sure to get you something new pretty quick. Thanks. Bye.
bye.